Okay, are we ready to get started? We only got 13 people tonight, but we're not going to let that hold us back. We're going to be moving on. We have folks here tonight from Canada and Russia and USA and people in Russia who are from several different places, not just Russia itself. So welcome
And Germany,
everybody.
and
Pardon?
Germany, and Germany.
Nah, Germany's part of Russia. What are you talking about? They're the same thing.
I wouldn't want to go there. I wouldn't go there if I were you. It's
I can go there. I'm an American. I can go
sensitive
there. I'm an
topic.
American. You learn for the last 4 years. An American can say anything they want. So get used to it. That doesn't make them right. Does not make them right. But they can just
Okay, there you go. That's me. Recovering. That's a
they'll
recovery.
say all kinds. They'll say all kinds of silly things. Absolutely, they'll say silly things. I'm going to I'm going to share my screen for just a moment.
Wow.
For all you lovely ladies out there.
Oh.
Happy Women's Day. I know it was a couple of days ago, but we didn't have our meeting then. We just want to send a very happy Women's Day to all you lovely ladies and let you know that we would not be here without you.
Heart. Oh, that was so good.
We appreciate that. And we know that this world is needed of both types, men and women. Man could not live alone. There's no way. I know. I was married for 43 years. I know you cannot live alone. So it's a little bit different. But I wanted to welcome everybody and let you know that we were thinking about many of you on Women's Day. So congratulations on your Women's Day. Okay, let me move to my president's comments. Whoops. One more thing I forgot. I forgot it last week, but you guys didn't remind me. Did you? No, you didn't. You forgot to remind me last time. I'm going to show the four-way test on the screen. I would like everybody to turn on their microphones. Please turn on your microphone and repeat the sentences after I do for the four-way test. The four-way test of things that we think and say and do. The first one, is it the truth?
Is it
the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will and better friendship.
Will build goodwill and better understanding.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Aha, I fooled you. I didn't say it first.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Okay.
And will it be fun?
Yes, and will it be fun?
Okay.
That's why I didn't read the last one on purpose. I wanted to see if you guys would just jump ahead of me, and you did. That's great. You got to change things, and you got to laugh every day. If you don't laugh every day, it's a poor, poor day. The sun's not going to shine. You got to wake up in the morning and make sure you get that belly laugh out of the way so that you feel better. And after you laugh at yourself, the next thing you need to do is laugh at everybody around you. Pass that laugh off. Don't just try and keep it all for yourself. Keeping it for yourself is no good. I often tell people when you wake up in the morning, if you find you have 2 laughs, give one away. Somebody else probably needs one. I think that's what we need more of right now. Everybody is wondering what's going to happen now with the vaccines going out there, people getting their shots and doing things. Everybody's wondering, when is it going to go away and when are we going to be open again? I don't think anybody knows. I have no clue. There are predictors that'll be soon, predictors that'll be far, no idea. But what I do know is that our Rotary Club is going to keep on meeting and keep on having guest speakers. That's going to continue. Because of Randall's great work that he's been doing and some of you assisting him in his work, we're already booked up through April. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But we're all the way through April. We have speakers every week. So we will be presenting you with a wide variety of speakers. I'll be talking about that as we get near the end of our meeting today. But we appreciate all of you for contributing, giving us ideas, giving Randall's ideas, and then Randall following up on it. It's really doing well. So that's very, very good. You know, we've been hearing about a lot of people talking about what's coming up in changes. And I'm not sure the rest of the world, besides Rotarians and Toastmasters, besides those 2 groups, I don't know about the rest of the world, but we change our world come 1 July. Most people think they change the year and the world in 1 January, but for us, it's 1 July. So already you should be looking forward as to who your next group of officers are going to be, who's going to be taking over, and what's going to happen. Some of you may be stepping into new positions in 1 July. it is not too early to start preparing yourself for the position you're going to have in 1 July. For some of us, it'll be a first time in a position. For some of us, it'll be a repeat in a position. For some of us, it may be a step backwards in position because we're going to take a little bit less responsibility. But we need to be thinking now already in March by what we're going to do come 1 July, because you only got April, May, and June, 90 days to prepare, and it will happen fast. So start thinking about what's going to be in the new Rotarian year. And I don't know how many of you are planning to go to Taiwan. I don't mean physically, I mean online, but it's another great opportunity. I don't know how many of you went last year. I went last year and it was interesting to do it online, something different. And now we're going to see what comes out of this year's online. So I hope that they have some more interesting speakers like we had last year. And I'm hoping they get people involved a little bit more, because now we know on Zoom and online and other ways online how to involve our audience, how to get them involved in meetings. So hopefully there'll be more involvement. Those are all positive things that are coming on. And now I'd like to continue the positive theme going, and I'd like to pass it over to my secretary, Randall. And Mr. Randall Eastman, will you tell us a little bit about what's happening with the secretary's viewpoint?
I don't really have that much to say, President Michael, except that letting you know that next week we just got confirmation that Michelle Berdy, who is a longtime columnist, she's an author of a book. She's a longtime columnist of the Moscow Times, and she's the arts editor for the Moscow Times, which is the English language newspaper published from and about Moscow. So she will be speaking to us. And then Michael, you'll share after that who's coming up in the next 6 weeks. So yes, we have speakers lined up until the end of April, and we'll keep plugging along. So in the month of April, we are asking David will join us in the first week, and we will have the USA Russia ICC, then the Canada Russia ICC, and then the German Russia ICC speaking to us, which should help us actually think more about what we can do going forward as a club.
Right. April's going to be
Over to
ICC
you,
month
Michael.
for sure. April will be ICC month for sure, as we have 3 different meetings with speakers from different countries coming in to talk about the ICC connections. I want to mention to Andres Bone. Andres, do you have anything you want to say about dues or membership fees or anything that's not been paid or we need to pay? You want to remind anybody?
As always, nothing has changed since the last time, unfortunately. So other than was discussed, no changes, no income further. So I would like to take the chance to remind. With regard to the CRC, you will come to this point. There I have some news to share with all.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Andres. Appreciate it. And excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and move forward at this time and let Robert be on here in just a minute. I need to tell you just a little bit about Robert. You know, Robert, I think, is a very interesting person, and we need to understand a little bit about him before we get him on stage here. Where's Robert? All right. And what I wrote down when after reading his bio was I wrote down Canon Robert Morrow. From Canada to Bulgaria to Kenya, Bob is an influencer. And if you read his bio, which is rather long, you will find out that he has been around the world helping people, providing services and education to people around the world for a long, long time. He volunteers with all different types of organizations, not only in Canada, but in other countries also. He's the author of more than 120 books. Most of them are about educational things, but also he's written some atlases, and he works with a publishing company called Pearson Education Canada. He has received the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Award for his contributions to science education and the local community, and he received that in 2012. In 2017, he was made an honorary lay canon with the Anglican Church. because of his volunteer work. And I think this is a fellow who's been around the farm, or around the tree, or around the world, we could say, even more than myself. And I think that I have been around quite a bit. But I think Robert has got more experience than myself. I know he's written a lot more books than I have. And I think he's going to have an interesting story he's going to tell us tonight about his project. He may tell us more than just about his project tonight, but let's turn it over to him and hear what he has to say. Robert, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you. I'll let you, you're going to let me share my screen, I hope, right? Yes.
Should be
That's
already
okay,
set up.
Randall? That's okay. Okay, good. Okay. Okay.
Got it.
But there we are. So this, I think, picks up on Michael's opening, that your point of view and having a nice smile on your face is a good start to the day. The 120 books, that's interesting for me, because I think I probably have written or edited more books than the former president of the United States has actually read. So I think that's my main claim to fame, I think. Also picking up on what Michael said about the changeover on July the 1st and Rotary. And as you know, it always changes on July the 1st. And I always remember talking to a past RI president, and I'm darned if I can remember his name, but I remember him telling me that on June the 30th, he was the president of Rotary International. And on July the 1st, he was the sergeant at arms at his club back in Georgia. And I thought that was a pretty interesting way of looking at it. My friend Ralph Montesanto was a district governor, and the big change for him was that he went from 100 emails a day to 5 from June the 30th to July the 1st as a district governor. So things change on July the 1st, that's for sure. Okay. So I'd just like to talk to you today a little bit about a project that I'm sort of got involved in, but I'd like to emphasize more about the background of the project and the significance of it for me, the significance of it for our club. And but before I get into that, I thought I would tell you a little bit about the last little bit of my career, because I was a project manager at the Canadian Space Agency for about 16 years. And I thought I'd sort of just describe what a project manager was, okay? So for example, if this is the space agency, and I'm not sure that it'll apply to every job, okay? But in the space agency, if you had math skills and were good at problem solving, you're probably an engineer in the space agency, okay? If you were good at problem solving and had people skills, you're probably going to end up as a manager somewhere along the line, okay? Or if you had math skills and you also had obsessive compulsive disease, okay, you're probably going to end up being an accountant in our organization. If you had people skills and also had a drinking problem, you're probably going to end up in federal-provincial relationships in the organization. If you had obsessive compulsive disease and you were also heartless, we're probably going to end up putting you in human resources. And lastly, if you were heartless and had a drinking problem, the last combination, you're probably going to end up as a lawyer in the Canadian Space Agency, okay? But if you put those all together to get to like this, that's what a project manager does, except for the drinking problem, okay? At any rate, this is a little project called the Maktaba Project, and Maktaba is Swahili for library. So you already know what it's about, okay? So put that in the background for the moment, because things I want to do is stress some stuff up front here. Sometimes I think we need, as Rotarians, to step back a little bit, because I think that the big thing that our organization does that other service organizations don't necessarily do in terms of the big global picture is a kind of a mission, a big mission on a worldwide basis. Okay, and for me, this attempt at getting world peace and peace between people, getting to understand one another, is our main mission. And I think that one of the things that we can do about this is to create some change in communities, in our communities, being local or being in communities that we can touch in other areas as well. So our service projects, even a small one like ours, is going to deal with something very specific that's going to deal with, in our case, poverty, lack of access to education, and we're hoping an unequal distribution of resources. Okay, so the key, of course, is going to be in this area here, but as you'll see, it's more than that. It's more than just building a library. There's just more to it than that. And it's also about relationship building, and this is what I'd like to sort of stress. And as you know, Rotary is the universal language of peace. So we're trying to establish a relationship between our club here in Canada and the Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka. And I'm going to tell you how I came in contact with this club and how I started to build this relationship. It's also going to involve my district, which is 7090, and their district, 9212, as well as some funding for Rotary, the Rotary International Foundation, to make all of this happen. So here's where we're dealing with. I'm a geographer, so I'm always going to try and put a map in there somewhere for you to pick up on. So this is Mount Kilimanjaro here. This is Kenya here, and Somalia up here, and Ethiopia, and Sudan over here, Uganda, and Tanzania. And so we're dealing with the capital city, Nairobi here, and the distance from Nairobi down to Mombasa, hiding under here, is about 500 kilometers, just to give you an idea. And this is the equator right through here, okay? And I used to live actually on this road right here, just at this spot, just a little bit south of the equator there. The Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka is right here. This is the capital city, and this is downtown Nairobi right here. And this is where they meet. And it's a big space, and you can see it's not colored green, but you can see there's nothing in there. There's no other streets. And the reason there's no other streets in there, this is the Nairobi Golf Club. And this is where they meet. And the distance from where they meet to Nairobi National Park is about 2 kilometers. And to downtown Nairobi, it's about 2 kilometers. Okay, so it's when you go to here, you're basically out into the wilds, in effect. Okay, and what has happened to my wife and I, these are not pictures of my wife and I, but both of these have happened to us in Nairobi National Park. Okay, this one we didn't have everything up there taken out by the baboons, but a lot of them, they got into our car and stole some of the food from our car. And this one was fairly common. And we faced this in a number of situations. I can remember one time my daughter, there was a slit on the window open, and she had a little book, and she dropped it out the window, or a book out the window. And she said, Dad, get my book, get my book. I said, not a chance. Okay, I'm not going out there to get your book, that's for sure. Okay. So I'd like to introduce you to the Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka, because they're a very interesting Rotary Club. Completely out of my understanding of a Rotary Club. And I've been an assistant governor and assistant governor coordinator in our district for 8 years now. And this is an entirely different club than I have ever experienced. They're a new club. They've only been in business basically for 9 years. Their charter was June the 1st, okay? And Madaraka means freedom. And this is their day of freedom. Just like in Canada, we have July the 1st, they have June the 1st as their day of freedom. At the present time, they have 39 members, and their average age is 35. Isn't that amazing? Okay. And they have a 50-50 gender mix. Now, it can't be exactly 50-50 with 39, can it? But it's close to 50-50, okay? And most of the members are former Rotaractors. So what they did is they used their university connections as Rotaractors and formed this young Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka. Okay, This is Sammy Malaki. He is the person that I've been dealing with the most in the process so far. And this is Sarah Njoki, and Sarah is the past president. So when I started this, it was last Rotary year. So my first contact was with Sarah, and she invited Sammy along as the incoming president. And probably that relationship is going to be maintained throughout the whole project. But I've also been dealing with Wilson Kamau and Wanja, and they, and all of these people have been to my Rotary Club using a Zoom meeting to get introduced to our club. Okay, so I've been trying to build that relationship between the two clubs. But I also did my little talk on space with their club as well. And one of the things I was concerned about, I know that none of these people have their native language as English, okay? They all speak, most of them probably their native language would be Kikuyu, and their second language would be Swahili, and their third language would be English. And so what I want to do is make sure that when I did my presentation, I didn't put too many jokes in there that used English, and then the nuances of English that would compound the situation, okay? But I did put one in, and it was this about space, and I said, and here's two astronauts out there looking at space and saying, I thought it would be bigger. And when I put this one up on the screen, I was able to see all of their members over on the side there, and they all smiled. Okay, so I knew they got the joke. Okay. Then the funniest part happened. In the chat room across the bottom, one of the members, female, to everyone, not to me, but to everyone, wrote this. I've said this to a lot of guys. And that's when I knew that the language was not going to be an issue with these people, okay? They're terrific. One of the things that I wanted to make sure was that there was a connection in terms of our strategic plan as a club and their club. And so I got a hold of, through Rotary International, their strategic plan to see if there was a good match between the two clubs. And here's what, and I took some excerpts, okay, from that. Here's what they want to do. And that matches up pretty well with what I would want to do with my Rotary Club if I was the president of it this year. And I'm sure that this is what you want to do as well, okay? They want their meetings to be exciting, informative. They want to have time to engage with others. And here's an interesting one, which has come up very often in our area recently, and that is to reduce the cost to members. A lot of people we're getting a lot of feedback from younger people in particular that our $20 breakfast, and that's what it is, basically, it's 18, but let's call it $20, is just too expensive for 50 weeks of the year for some members, okay? And a variety of locations for members. So what they're looking at is some of their meetings are held at the golf club. None of them right now, of course, they're all on Zoom. And some of them are done in other locations where they do other things. And they're now, of course, are looking at a hybrid sort of situation. They want their culture to be clearly defined with a nice committee structure, and they want to have a diversity in age and vocation. At the moment, the diversity is just the reverse of what we're looking at my club. We're trying to get our younger members. They're actually trying to get some older members into their club to try and bring some other Rotary experience to it. And in red there, you can see the opportunity for fun and laughter. And that's why I always add the fifth part of the Rotary four-way test. Is it fun? In my club, we meet at 7 o'clock in the morning. Let me tell you, it's not much fun to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to a Rotary meeting, to be there by 7 and it not be any fun, okay? And this one I think is important too, to participate in a way that makes sense for each person, that not everybody has to be there every week, that sometimes they can contribute to the club in a different way. And providing service, they like to have what we call sweat equity. And because they're former Rotaractors, they're used to doing that. And they also seek partners for international projects, which they have already done. And they use their partners and others to raise money. Their first project was at a girls' center, and it was a scholarship project. And what they did was they funded this with their annual golf tournament. Now, this is not like the golf tournaments that we run in Canada. Our club has not run a golf tournament, but other ones have, and they sometimes raise $30,000 or $40,000. My wife, and I do it too, but my wife is a big volunteer with Ronald McDonald House in Hamilton. And they run a golf tournament, and they sometimes make $150,000 on a golf tournament. Well, these guys are not making this kind of money, but they are having a golf tournament, and they do raise money. And what they've done is they provided school fees. In Kenya, after grade 8, you have to pay to go to school. And so sometimes there is an impediment because the kids and their parents can't afford the money to pay the school fees, to provide them with the kind of stationery that they need, the toiletries, and the bit of pocket money. So these people provide the scholarships for a number of females to go to school and provide these things for them. They also started off with a project in what's called the Friends Integrated Center, where they built a school library for 300 students. And you can see there's where they are now. There's a Nairobi golf club right there, and it's over here in Nairobi. So it's right in the city, but still it's maybe 10 or 15 kilometers away. And they provided the furniture and the bookshelves and so forth, and they work with a local publisher. This next statement might just look like a simple little thing, but this is important. They donated books and reading materials related to the country's new competency-based curriculum. As soon as I started in this project, people saw this as an opportunity to get rid of all the old books that they had, and they wanted to ship them over there. I'm not going to do that. Okay, the books have to be culturally appropriate for the school. Okay, and I'm going to hold firm with that. This little project was featured in the Rotarian magazine, just a little article. Now, I get the Rotarian magazine. I don't read it from cover to cover every time I get it. But last May, I had to have a little operation on my throat here on my parathyroid gland. And I got into the hospital, and I took my Rotarian magazine because I thought I was probably going to wait for a while, and I did. And I read, that's where I found this little article about them. And so I wrote to them and said, would you like to be involved in a project in which we would cooperate? So they already had some exposure in the Rotarian magazine. And this is what their school library looked like. As you can see, pretty rudimentary. We're not talking big libraries here. We're talking basic stuff. Okay. So we did an independent review. We had a friend of our incoming president, Tom McLeod, who lives in Nairobi, and he reviewed their Friends Integrated Library project. And his assessment was that the club did a needs assessment, and the school administration worked with the club. So that's what we wanted to find out. Number one, did they do a needs assessment to find out if that was what the community needed? And secondly, can they work with others? And his last comment was, it seems that the Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka is doing a good job. Also, they were involved in a WASH project, okay? And they provided this for an area just south of Nairobi National Park. And what they did was they put in a new borehole, and it resulted in electrification being improved, increased farming, and more houses being built. It was a $62,500 project, and they worked with the Rotary Club of Steamship Springs, Colorado, and with the RI Foundation. So what I did was, here's where it is. You can see there's where they were, and this is where the Kirkau Water Project is. So this is where their first one was, up in here, and this is where their second one was, right here. So I contacted the Rotary Club of Steamboat Springs and got the guy who was sort of their liaison person. Here's what he said about them. They're a great club to work with. They were organized. All their forms were completed. The bank accounts were in good order. Okay? That's what you want to hear. They were a delight to work with, and that's exactly what I found to this particular point. And their RI assessment of their project and the way that they dealt with the Rotary Club of Steamboat Springs was they were highly praised for their work. Okay, so we're going to start with their community. They identified the need I said to them, you know what the 6, now 7 areas of Rotary's focus are. You identify the need. I'm not going to tell you what I think is the most important thing in your area. You decide. So they decided that there was going to be the library. The libraries were a good way to go. Okay, and so they're committed because they made the decision about what the need was. I didn't tell them you need this, you need that. They said, here's what the need is, and we're going to go that way. And it's going to reflect their local values and their local culture. So they're working on their community assessment right now, and it will be enhanced as we move towards the global grant process. The interesting thing was that Sammy, in my talks with him, and we probably talk every 2 weeks or so on Zoom, he said to me, would you like one of these libraries to be in the town of Neary, which is where I lived? And I said, no, it's 100 miles away. I don't want you to be doing something way up there. I want you to do something that's nearby that you can take care of. Okay. So the club is involved, and they're taking ownership of this whole thing, and they're looking at what the club is doing well, as well as what the club needs. Okay. So our proposal is to equip these schools with furniture, books, and computer. It's also going to serve the local community. So it's not just going to be a school library that gets locked up at 3:30 when the school closes. Okay, it's going to be one that's going to provide a community focus for the children and their parents to spend some time in the evenings. And that's the key as far as I'm concerned to the whole thing. And they're going to be very near Nairobi. There might be one that's rural, but it will be very close to the city of Nairobi itself. They don't have urban sprawl there. There's a very clear definition between where the city ends and where the rural area begins. And so one of them might be out in the rural areas. We're not sure yet. So what do we expect? Well, we expect that we're going to be able to provide some curriculum-based materials. We're going to add leisure-oriented books that are culturally appropriate. And we want to encourage meaningful hobbies and activities for the local community. And we want to provide it as a gathering place with solar lighting where needed. Okay. Interesting thing for me was, I mentioned when I was in Paraguay and in my meeting with my translator, Adriana, but when I was there, the interesting thing that I found was that this is a country, Paraguay is a country of 4 million people. They only have 50,000 landline telephones, but they have 2 million cell phones. They jumped over the landline part of telephone stuff and went right to the mobile phones. The same thing is happening in many of the areas that are not serviced by electrification yet. They're jumping right to solar lighting and not having poles and electrification all centralized. So we're going to try and take advantage of that. And we're going to, by the way, the internet connections in Kenya are, particularly in the urban areas, are pretty darn good. One night when I was on a Zoom meeting with Sammy, I lost the connection, not him. But they're going to provide computers for the schools as well. We also want to have improved academic performance in these primary schools, okay? Because this will this academic performance will help the poorer students to get into secondary schools. We also want an increased commitment to education and to just a higher level of appreciation of reading and literacy as a part of their lives. So here's the big picture. We're looking at doing 4 or 5 libraries. If we get funding from other clubs and from District 9212, we'll try for 5 libraries, but we're going to start with 4. We're working on this for the next 2 years. Nothing will be done until that time. So in November, December, I got my club's approval. That went through the International Services Committee in my club. Then it went to the board of my club, and then it went to the full club, and all 3 approved it unanimously. And so that was very important. So I now have the backing of my club. And they did this, of course, after having a Zoom meeting and chatting with the people from Nairobi. We're starting to approach other clubs for funding if they're interested in. We're not asking clubs for $10,000 or $15,000. We're looking for small donations for specific little things. Okay. We're also working on our global grant. There's a thing that just came out where Rotary International is not going to match district funds 100%, but you have to have this all done by May the 31st. We've made the decision not to rush. We're going to work on our global grant and just continue to work on it, on our plan. And we'll take the 80% and not the 100% that's going to be offered by RI. So by the end of April, we're going to have our needs assessment completed, and our global grant will start to take a little bit better form at that time. And the implementation will be over a 2-year period. My guess is that most of that will be in early 2022 through Rotary year 2022-23. The budget's not finalized for sure. It was initially developed by them, and then we evaluated it and we reviewed it, and our International Services Club revised it and got the approval of them for it. We still have to put a little bit more money into training and the lighting aspect and sustainability after the funding is completed. But I do have something I want to share with you about that as well. Okay. So the budgets for one school library, the total cost for 4 is about $40,000. Our club has already committed 10,000 US. And I asked Sammy if his club could give us 1,000, and he said, no, we want to give 3,000 or maybe 4,000. So we're very, very pleased with that level of commitment. So here's where the money is going to be spent. The structural improvements, $2,000, the furniture, $3,000, the books, $3,500. Every project has to have a hand washing station. This is $100. It's very minimal, as you can imagine. However, the Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka will also put money into that out of their own funds to bolster that one. An initial $1,000 in training, transportation, administration, and so forth, approximately $10,000. However, one of the things that we're proposing is a vocational training team. Now, I took a group study exchange team to Bulgaria back in 2008. We're looking at once we get 1 or 2 of these libraries done, we'd like to bring over 3 teacher librarians to our district for training on the community use of libraries. This is a completely new concept in Kenya. And rather than sending 3 of our people over there to tell them what to do, we'd like to bring them over to Canada/United States. We're an international district. We cross the border. We go from near Rochester, New York, and Jamestown, New York, over to Hamilton. So we have half of our clubs are in the USA and half of the clubs are in Canada. And so we want to bring them over and do some training with them, and that we hope will help with the sustainability. It's not part and parcel of our global grant application, but I'm working with the vocational training team in the district, and they're in line to support this. We shouldn't have any problems. Okay, so that's the end for me. With the last person, turn off the enlightenment as you leave the room, please. Okay, so I will stop sharing, and I'll be happy to take any questions if I could.
Michael, you're muted.
I seen that. Thank you. Well, Robert, obviously, I know why your mother did not add the word TO before your last name. You're not going to wait till tomorrow to do anything. You're a man of action. You're a man that's get out there and do it now. I think you picked that up when you were in a space agency. I don't know, but if I can tell for sure for now, you're not waiting. you are looking forward and you're doing things on time and effectively. Sounds like a great project. I'm going to open up the floor to people. If you'll raise your hand, I'll see you, and then we'll let you ask Robert a question. Randall, you're first. Naveen, you'll be
thank you.
next.
Okay, thank you, Robert. I have a couple of questions, and to give some perspective. In China, our Rotary clubs worked quite closely with locally started NGO. It was started by a young man who was American when he was in Dalian. It was called the Library Project. And I think over a decade together, we helped him sponsor more than 1,000 libraries that he established in schools, very much in rural communities in China. And he had a model. One of the main fundamental parts of his model was that all the books were locally sourced. And he was not trying to provide actually educational books. He was trying to provide a range of books for kids. But this principle of sourcing the books locally was really important, especially in China, where books are under the eye of the government. So anything that's published, any printed word is looked at very carefully by the government. So to solve that, everything was locally purchased, but also it was very affordable. And I just want to know, Robert, are the books that you're going to be placing in the libraries locally sourced? And if you're going to do 3 or 4 libraries, will you just define a set of books and then replicate in each new location, or would each be different?
Well, first of all the books will be locally sourced. Okay, the club already has a relationship with a publishing company called Morrow, and so they're going to be working with them to help to provide the books. We're going to provide, first of all, in Kenya, the students don't have easy access to the good books that support the government's curriculum. And so one of the things we're going to be doing is providing good copies of these books that's going to help to level the playing field for these poorer kids to get into secondary schools. Okay. Secondly,
like
we have not talked yet about, sorry, textbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then secondly, we haven't talked about what the what kinds of local books we're going to be doing that are culturally appropriate. We're not at that stage yet, but there's going to be no shipping of books from North America over there. They're all going to be culturally appropriate. That's for sure. That's one of the things I insisted on from the very beginning. And when I mentioned it to the group, when I was talking to them on Zoom, all I'm seeing is heads going up and down. Okay. We're also working with a local NGO to provide the solar lighting.
Randall,
if I can add,
else?
yeah, I want to ask one more thing. You mentioned that they're going to open up the libraries, not just to the kids, but to the community. And then you want to bring librarians to Canada to see community library development. I'm just curious, do schools in Canada actually open up their libraries to adults in the community?
What we're doing is it's kind of a hybrid thing here. They don't have community libraries in Nairobi, at least in the poor areas. So we're trying to make the school a kind of community gathering place and make it into a community library as well. So when we bring them over, we're not going to be taking them to schools to do the training. We're going to be taking them to community libraries to show them what a community library can do, what a library can do for the community, and then try and take that aspect and put it into their libraries. Because at the moment, the schools, the libraries, and the school close up at 3:30 in the afternoon, and nobody uses the space.
Right.
Also,
so I'm just curious if in Canada, if schools ever experimented with opening up their libraries to the community, or it's always been a separate community libraries for the community, school just for the school.
And if you go into any of our northern communities, and even in some that aren't in the far north, many of the libraries are open one side to the school and one side to the community. And that's the kind of thing that we're going to show them and try and instill. It's a completely different thing for them. That's for sure. Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Naveen, you had a question. You're muted, please, unmute.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I had a few. First of all, thank you so much for sharing this exciting project, which if it's okay for you to share it with us, and maybe our club and district will be interested in it, that will be awesome. Being an educator myself, I see the libraries and, education is the, one of the very important factors. And another thing, with respect to the global grant, I've seen that you've put furniture there. Is furniture acceptable now as a global grant? Because I'm, my understanding that there is a question that about that. So if you can elaborate, that will be good. And then I can see also that the name is Maktaba, which is an Arabic and Egyptian word. My background is Egyptian, so I was wondering what is the influence of Arabic in Kenya, in Nairobi? If you can educate me on that.
But well, the first one about the global grant is there is a limit to how much you can put in for the furniture and so forth, but it's not exclusive. You have to get a balance, okay? And that's why I said that we're going to be probably adjusting those figures within the $10,000, and we may be having to get some money from outside the global grant for some of the furniture and for some of the structural things. So we may be adjusting those figures. The word Maktaba is a Swahili word, which means library. And of course, there is a big Arab influence along the coast of Kenya. So I don't know where that word came from. Where the words come from are kind of interesting. For example, the word for white man in Swahili is Mzungu. And the word Mzungu means no legs. Now, where would that come from? Well, where the word came from was the fact that the white guys who came wore pants. And these were the first people that they had ever seen who didn't wear pants. So they called them Mzungus, okay? So the languages sort of go together, okay? The first two words I ever learned in Swahili were Bia PCPC. Bia, it's like a British person ordering a beer, okay? Beer, that's beer. So Bia in Swahili is beer, okay? And then PCPC is real quick, please, okay?
Thank you.
So yes, there is quite a bit of Arabic influence, particularly, and of course it started along the coast, and of course migrated up into the high areas. That's for sure.
Good.
Naveen,
Thank you so much.
Question?
And I know I was just wondering if you can share with us the information, because I would be very much interested in presenting it to our district.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have questions?
And I'd be happy.
In their hand. Yeah, Rami, you have a question? Rami?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Yes. So thank you so much, Robert, for the presentation. I have two questions. First question, how can we help in that project in a sense? How can funds be transferred there? Is there any issues in that area? The second thing is, forgive me, I'm a little maybe not very knowledgeable, but how easy it is for it to be electronic, because we're moving into electronic libraries. So how easy it is to set up something like that there? Yeah, thank you.
I've been asking that question from our people there, and they seem to think that we should be putting the emphasis on the books as opposed to electronics. They do recognize the fact that they should have a computer in the library, that's for sure. But what's happening is, and we're trying to get the balance, because everybody is moving into the time of mobile phones and getting your information from the mobile phones, okay? But you still have to have that, and that's why we're putting the emphasis on having the library as a community place of gathering as well, okay? So it's going to be a hybrid, that's for sure, okay? And now, in terms of the if a club wants to be involved in the project, I don't think there's any difficulty in that club making a commitment for 122 or 2223, and then saying, okay, we'll pledge $500 or we'll pledge $1,000 or whatever. And then we just put that into our global grant. And when it comes time to actually access the money, RI, we do that through RI, Rotary International.
Okay.
Don't forget, this is my club's first international project. We've never done this before. Okay, so we're learning too.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good. It's good. Again, one second, Naveen. It's very good that you're reaching out and challenging. I know Naveen has another question, but before I do, I want to make a comment that in 2000 and 2001, I made 5 2-week trips to Nairobi, Kenya. And many of the things you're talking about with the animals, going to places and everything is absolutely true. I agree with you 100%. And I did find the people there very, very cooperative and very, very nice. I even went to a Christmas party there, and out of 400 people, there was 1 white person. But the joke was, we now have a white sheep in the family. So I was the white sheep in the family. But it was a lot of fun, and they were very, very hospitable and nice people. So I enjoyed it a lot. Another question from someone.
I could just maybe follow up by saying that I lived in Kenya for 2 years, so I'm familiar with the area. So that's why I have a kind of a
soft spot,
heart connection with.
Gotcha. Any other questions? No
I
more
just
questions
had
from the floor? Oh, I'm sorry, Shanaz. I didn't see you raise your hand. Sorry.
I didn't have
Go
a
ahead.
question, I had a comment. The Rotary Club of Kensington and Chelsea is going to be participating with camel libraries. There's a camels with books laid all across, and in the desert, there's no way of traveling to remote villages. So the camel takes the library to the different spots. The children, they place mats on the floor, they read, and are given about an hour or 2. And sometimes they're left for a week till the camel guy comes back. So we're going to be participating in that. Talking about libraries.
Super idea. And we just now heard today that China and Russia are going to cooperate on putting a station on Moon. So pretty soon we will have libraries on the Moon. So we're going in that direction. That's coming in the future. Any other questions from the floor? Anybody out there? Nobody's got questions?
Naveen had another question.
Naveen, you had one? No?
I had a comment actually just with Robert, because I just wanted to let you know I've been involved in a few global grants and district grants, and the global grants especially, they take a long time. So I'm glad you have patience because it can take long time.
Yeah.
So
That's exactly why we're not rushing to get it done by May 31st. When this came out, I talked to my committee in the club, and they said, "Oh, maybe we should rush. I don't know." And then I talked to we have an expert at the district level, and she said, "No, don't do it." And I talked to Sammy in Nairobi, and he said, "No, let's not do it. Let's just stay the course. If we can only build 4 libraries, let's do 4 libraries. If we can't, do 5." Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And a few of us that are from our club that have been here for a longer time, Andres Bone and myself, and Gabriella was part of it. We had a $62,000 global grant, and it took us 4.5 years just to get it all organized and approved and started. And then, of course, you're going to have the review for a few years afterwards, a follow-up and the checking, make sure everything's in place. And it's really, you're looking at anywhere from 6 to 7 years for a global grant, from initiation till you're all the way through and finished with all the inspections and everything afterwards. It is a long period, and you have to be ready for it. It's an awful lot of work.
6 to 7 years. Did I hear that correct?
Yep, 6 or 7 years. By the time you get this, just like Robert is having the idea in 2020. I assume he started in 2020, but now it's going to go all the way through 2023. And then after it's done, there are inspections and follow-up that has to be done in 2024 and 25, 2 years afterwards for a global grant. So it's going to go from 2020 to 2025. You're talking about 5 or 6 years. So that's normal.
Well, I hope it doesn't go on too long, because like yesterday, my wife and I were looking at getting a new floor for our kitchen. And the woman said, well, we don't want you to be running out in 15 years and getting another floor. And I said, let me tell you something, in 15 years, I'll be 95, and I'm not going to be running out anywhere.
I agree, Robert, I agree. But we just have to understand some of these global grants, depending on their size, like ours was $62,000. It took 5 different countries and it took us 6 years to just get through it. So it's not quick. And some of them are shorter, some of them are faster, but Andres Bowen over up here in the corner of my screen, he was involved in a lot of this, as well as Gabriella from Germany. She's one of our honorary members. We very, very much involved in the project, and it does take a long, long time to get through on some of them. Some are quick. So any other comments? If not, I'm going to move on to the next piece. Oh, Natalia, I'm sorry, I missed you. You're muted, Natalia, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Well, I was trying to think of what a culturally appropriate library could I think of if I wanted to give my books to some school library or community library. And my question is, what is the basic, what are the basic, or what is the basic literature for young people, adults, or teenagers in Kenya? And will it be local literature? Will it be about history, about nature? Will it be stories, adventure stories for children? What do you think it should teach both children and adults if they don't have any library at home, for example? What should it be composed of? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, well, first of all, there's the curriculum-based books. Okay, so we'll put those aside for the moment, okay, because those are the needy ones, okay? In terms of the other ones, what we were trying to do is not to simply have books written by North Americans and then shipped over there. We would like to see books written by Africans that they can use. Okay, and there are lots of them. That's for sure.
I see.
So we're gonna try and increase the number of books in their libraries that are written by Africans for Africans.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
and there's lots of them. As soon as I mentioned library, Natalia, you would not believe the number of people who came to me and said, "Oh, I've got a whole pile of books I'd really like to get rid of."
Of course.
I mean, so do I. But I'm not. But none of them are going. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
Right. That's what I thought. Right. Absolutely.
Now there will be a balance, of course, because just in the same way as we would have some books in our libraries that are written by Africans, we expect there to be books written by North Americans and Europeans in their libraries as well. But we want it to be more culturally appropriate than what people think about.
Yeah. Right. Right. Thank you.
Well, I think we need to be moving on. If we have no more questions, we still have time for maybe one more question if anybody's got one. No more questions from the floor? Robert, we appreciate it very, very much. I'd like for everybody to give Robert a round of applause. Thank you very much, Robert. Super job.
Thank you.
And I do like the idea that you added, added a couple cartoons in just to throw a little smile on people's face. The one at the Enlightenment at the end, I think was a good way to close a speech. Ending it by turning the lights off. Very good. But I think your effort, as I said, you're not a tomorrow person, you're a today person, and you're making things happen. And that's what we'd like to see. We'd like to hear from Rotarians. Some of the Rotarians that are on the screen here are people also who are doing things in their own right, within their own communities. And as long as Rotary keeps going that direction, I think we're going to be around for a long time doing lots of good things. What we need to figure out is we need to figure out how we're going to combine this benefit of be zooming around the world and connecting with clubs from all over the world that we wouldn't otherwise see. Meeting them, talking to them, being friendly with them is nice. The question is, what can we do together and how can we combine? How can we connect? How can we multiply the strength? Just think about yourself. Now, I know many of us are older Rotarians. Just think back 10 or 15 years ago. If we could have reached out on a Wednesday night and reached people in 6 different countries from 20 different clubs around the world, boy, we would have thought we were in heaven that we could reach out that many people and see that many people all at one time. So I think it's wonderful that we're able to do this on Zoom, but we need to figure out how to take advantage of it. And I would offer in the chat box that we have in the bottom of the screen, we have a little bit more time here for our meeting tonight. If your club is interested in partnering, your club is interested in contacting us, if your club's interested in having one of us come to them as a guest speaker, certainly we're willing to do that. Put your information in the chat box. Our secretary will grab that and we will see about getting back to you. Because some of you already know, I do leadership training and I have done it in other clubs, other Rotarian clubs. You just need to contact me and I'm willing to come in your meeting and give you some leadership training or leadership and Toastmasters or whatever you choose. There's a wide variety of subjects, but we need to be helping each other and doing things to build this bond a little bit tighter so that we can hold on to it. Because when these Zooms stop and when they slow down and we start going back to regular meetings, some of this connection is going to be lost. So while we have the opportunity, we should connect and pull that all together if at all possible. Let me see about my screen here. Next screen I have. Where's my next screen? Okay, the next screen is about our project, our club project. Most of you here on the screen are our regular members, so you already know about our project. And we have been in contact. Where is, oh, Andres is still here because I have a question for him. We've been in contact with a club down in Houston, Texas, and they are going to make a substantial donation to us. And right now we're trying to work out the banking agreements or whatever to get the transfer to happen. But we're still looking for more donors, and donations from different clubs. And ours is about the Children Rehabilitation Center, where the children with cerebral palsy are getting the massages, the therapy, the shoes, all the things they need done so that they can walk. These children who cannot walk now, they can't run with their other children. They can't even walk with the other children. They're in wheelchairs or they're being carried. These children have an opportunity to go through the center and leave either walking or almost walking with crutches and braces, but eventually would walk. And we're trying to help them more and more. So if you're interested in it, let us know. I don't want to be labored talking about it all the time, but that is our club project and that is where we're going forward. So we would like to make sure that that would happen. Andres, you had a comment earlier. Was that about this project or was it about something else?
Thank you, Michael. It's about this project, and I would like to share some information based on the visit Rami and I had yesterday to the center. So we had the chance to see Makar, the boy we supported in December last year. And I also would like to share with you a short video taken by Rami about his capabilities after this second 3 months treatment in the center. So let's see, can you see the video?
Yes, yeah, we see him moving. Yes, wow, holy cow.
Not walk without having his hands at the wall. Now he can freely walk. He walks around. Of course, he needs sometimes some support, but he was walking around and happily laughing and smiling at us. It was really a great opportunity to see him and to see how this 3 months treatment helped him to freely walk. Imagine,
Wow.
6 months ago, he was laying down. Now, 6 months later, he can walk like this. And this is great. And this is what this rehabilitation center achieves with the child. And this is motivating all of us to support those center with Tatiana. We have a very good contact. Rami was very interested in this. Maybe Rami, you have also some words to share about your impression you got from the center. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It was a very, I was nervous, and thanks to Andreas, he was holding me beside him to see all of the kids that are there. I was really shocked to see how big this center is, how everything is literally made by people inside and so on. And I actually, outside of Rotary, actually like have one child sponsored, and he's actually really progressing a lot faster than this child. And I just today they sent me the video of the other child, and I was shocked to see how he's actually like reacting like that and is actually standing. And it's this is the first time I ever do this, and I really understand what Michael was saying, that the first person really changes you forever. And I'm really thankful, and hopefully we manage to help more of the lists that they have, all of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rami.
Thank you,
And-
Rami. Some word to say about the center. They are in preparation for another 2 candidates, which we might support with the help of the Texas Club and with the help of the Rotary International Gemeinde, where Gabriela made the link. So I'm in contact with Mrs. Tischmann from the Gemeinde e.V. in Germany, Düsseldorf. The contract proposal is with them for another donation, maybe for another 1, 2, 3 kids. I do not know the amount. They are going to donor. The cost for one child is about 2,500 euros of a donation. And yeah, you all have my support that whoever is going to make a donation, that it ends up at this center. And I will be there to monitor the progress of the kids and share this with you. Thank you for the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andre. Appreciate your work very much. For those of you who don't know, Andres is our club treasurer and has been doing a super, super good job. He was wanted to get more involved in this project, and now he is, and that's great. And now Romney went. And what I've been telling, most of you are senior Toastmasters, senior Rotarians. So I don't need to tell you, but if you're new, the new people need to understand. We need to get our Rotarians out, like Romney did yesterday. Get out and touch, feel, experience the project. When they do that, it is so euphoric. They feel so good inside. All their energy now comes back out, and we want to do it again and again and again because it's so good. This is what we're trying to tell the world, that these people who want to become Rotarians, if they want to be committed, they can actually help the community. And it not only helps the community, it helps them too. They feel better. They feel, Rami, I mean, you don't have to comment, Rami, but you can imagine when you walked out of that place the other day, you felt so much different than you did when you went in. You didn't know what to expect going in, but when you come out, seeing that little boy walk, and I'll assure you, Andres, I'll assure you that I'll get with Rami here in the next few days. We'll make that video go viral. We will get that out and let other people know about it around the world, because when a child comes in and can't even walk, can't even stand, and has to be either carried in by hand or carried in a wheelchair to come in, and 3 months later, they can do what that boy was doing there in the video. That's amazing. That's super. And that's what other children can experience. And that's why whenever I'm talking to other clubs, I always talk about it's not fair for a child not to be able to run and play with his fellow classmates. That's not a fair thing in life. And just because they got dealt an unfair set of cards doesn't mean it has to stay that way. They can put some cards in the deck and take some more out. They can get what they need. They can walk again. They can run again. And adding that to their life just multiplies over and over. And again, this is that euphoric feeling. And I get excited when I start talking about it. I'm sorry if I'm talking too long or too loud tonight, but you understand this is what Rotary is about. This is what we get excited about, helping people. So certainly I'm glad to hear Andres and Rami. Thank you very, very much for going there and working on it and continuous work on the project. Super job, guys. Super job. Do we have any questions from the floor about it? Anybody on the floor have a question about it? Randall.
Just a quick question for Gabby, who's here. I wonder if she could explain how the club first encountered the project. The Romanov book was then the Romanov Center, if she was there at the beginning.
Yes, I remember that Romanov went to our meeting and he spoke about it. And then he invited all our club to come and to see it.
Right.
And I think, Andreas, every one of us went there. I was there many years ago, and I know that I think everyone was there in different times to see and to identify what they are doing. And all of us, we were really how can you say, we were impressed by how they worked. And you must know that also the parent, the mother or the father must participate in it. So it's not you give your child to the people and they do it. No, you by yourself as mother, as father, you have to work with the child and they show you how to do it. And then the children start to walk, to stand up, to walk. And this really is amazing. So also the parents are included in the whole process. And I also can say thank you to all of you who are engaged and to go on supporting this. Yeah, and especially Andreas, thank you so much. That I know you need a lot of effort. Yeah. So the center is really great.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Appreciate that. And that's one of the things that we didn't mention earlier. And when the child is there for the 3 months and gets the therapy and everything, when they go home, their parents have been trained on how to keep the massages, how to keep the exercises, how to keep all these things going so that the child can continue to grow and can continue to be better. That's absolutely necessary. And Gabriella, I was there. It was the fall of 2012, and they came to our meeting to give a presentation. And I was at the meeting at the time. Matter of fact, they had a little brochure. I don't know if I still have it or not, but that's a very old one. But they have new material and everything now. But yes, they came to our meeting wanting to know if we wanted to make a contribution. And we used to have a lot of people come to our meetings. A lot of charitable places used to come to our meeting and ask for help. Some we were able to help, some we were not. But this one touched our hearts. And when we went there and saw it, we said, let's do something. That's when we went for the global grant. So, and that was by a big machine. Yes, Shahnaz, you have a question? You're muted, please.
Sorry, I wanted to know what kind of fundraising events do you have?
Now, we don't have a fundraising event right now. We are considering one for either the spring or summer. Right now, we've been going to clubs and asking clubs who want to contribute directly. And fortunately, we've had not only clubs, but we've had individuals. Where's she at? Antonina's on our screen, and Antonina has she's in Canada, but she has family here in Russia. And she's made contributions just as an individual in the name of her relatives who are in Russia. So we will take, one second, Anthony, I'll be right with you. We'll take them from individual people. We'll take them from groups. We'll take them from anybody. But whenever it comes in, it goes into our account. And then when we add it up and we get a chunk, like Andres was saying, we get 2,500 euros. Whenever that gets up there, we take that goes to another child. And then we start building again till we get to another child and then go forward. We're doing one child at a time. If we get funding for 2 or 3, we will do that. But right now we're at the point we're doing one by one, and we'll take contributions from anyone, individuals, people, organizations, companies, Rotaries, Toastmasters. We really don't care. As long as your money spends, we'll use it. And it's going to a good cause. It's being used to get those children's legs going. And it's not only their legs. For some of them, it's their arms or their back or their hips or whatever that the problem is. But we get them going. The Cerebral Palsy Center gets them going again, gets them moving in the right direction. So, Antonina, you had a comment. I'm sorry.
It's just from my friend. She is resident of Belleville as well. She is not Rotarian, but she originated from Leningrad of St. Petersburg. And once she was in our meetings with St. Petersburg International as my guest.
Okay.
So she told me yesterday she would like to contribute to Romanov Project as well. Okay.
Absolutely. And you, Antonina, you can help her. You know who Andres is and how to contact Andres. So just make a direct connection. Don't need to go through anybody else. Their contributions, when they come in, can go to any member. We hope they all go to Andres first, but if they come to myself or Rami or Walter or Randall or any, it's a one stop by us and immediately to Andres, so that we can build up that fund till it's 2,500 €, and then grab another child, and then work on the next one, grab another child. People, 1 second, Robert. People have been talking to us about a global grant. They say, Michael, your group needs to do a global grant. We're a 9-member club, and we have nobody here who has gone through the official global grant training. So it'd be a long way yet advanced before we would ever get there. Will we do that someday? Maybe. Don't know. We don't know what the future holds for us. But right now, we're able to do it one child at a time, and that's the way we're working. A future grant may be, a global grant may be in the future for us, but we don't know right now. Yes, Robert, you had a comment.
I'm always looking for fundraisers that are doing a couple of things. Number one, that support the local community, and secondly, that are not so heavily individual Rotarian oriented. In other words, we're getting some money from outside of our organization. And one, which it's not my idea, which has been extremely successful, I don't know whether it's about its applicability. Restaurants have been hard hit by COVID in our area. They've been doing takeout only. And so what we've been doing is we've got 5 Wednesdays in March, and we have got 1 restaurant for each Wednesday, and people order a meal from them and with takeout, and there's a set menu and a set price. And then we added $10 on for Rotary. So if, let's say, the meal is $30, it's $40, okay? And people just go and pick it up out there, and then we provide some entertainment online for people to eat their meal and watch the entertainment. And it looks like tonight's meal is 125 people have purchased the meal. And so that means $1,250 for our Rotary Club. And last week's was 70. That was $700 for our Rotary Club. And but we said it was for the food. There's a food bank that needs money here. So it's driven by the need for something. So to attach it like you have, like with those young people, wow, that would raise money. I don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly an idea, Robert. It's an idea, and I know you're a busy person. 1 second, David. I know you're a busy person, Robert, but Randall knows how to contact you by email. I'm going to put Rami in contact with you and just get a little bit more explanation on what that is, rather than just verbal right now on the screen. And he's our he's taking over as our chairman of fundraising, and let him send you an email and maybe get a little bit more information on what you're doing with that restaurant and explain it a little bit better, a little bit longer. And then maybe, don't know if it's going to work here or not, but we've got a project that we think is attractive. We know the children need it, and we can see them walk. And now that I've seen this is the first video I had where our child that we sponsored was actually walking. So I'm excited about it. We're going to get this out, publicize it. You better believe it, we will. So David, you had a question.
Yes, no, a comment, Robert and Michael. Our club in Alexandria does something similar, both on a weekly basis and annually as a fundraiser at Taste for the town. And Shanaz, also in our area, has been a very generous participant in these activities. But it is a wonderful way of staying in touch, of keeping restaurants in your community functional. And please, Michael, if you need any additional information, feel free to email us as well.
Okay, great. Randall's got all that information, all the email contacts and so forth, and we'll see that Rami can get in touch with you guys and get some information. We're certainly open to that idea. Now, I do have something else in the back of somebody else is shaking a hand down here. I can't see who it is. Oh, Natalia? No, somebody else.
It is Howard Mitty.
Howard, okay, well, my screen's black. I got one black square on my screen. I can't see who that is. Okay, yes, Howard.
Well, Michael, thank you. Just for a second, I thought I could ride on your coattails a little bit and your enthusiasm about this wonderful project, and Andreas's tape that you so ambitiously thought would go viral. And God bless you if it can. And the reason that I bring it to your attention is that Rotary in Russia is under the sword of Damocles. And a year ago, there was a 6-year probationary period, and we've got maybe 1,000, 1,200 Russian Rotarians, about 100 for every time zone. And I'm just not sure that they've all heard about what Rotary is, and if anything, it might have been negative, like we are suspicious of foreign agents and so on. And so I wish you the best of luck in trying to publicize these wonderful projects to get the word out to the Russian population that Rotary is doing something pretty positive for people. And I think that will allay some of the fears that some might have. And because here it is, we've only got 5 years left in this period now. And it's worth not forgetting about that, that our time clock is not infinite in Rotary right now. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, I 1 second, Randall, Gabrielle, 1 second. I have got a number of business contacts after working here for 15 years, that companies that I have helped and worked with. So I'm planning on the key people that I know, and not every company was that way, but many of the companies had a key person at the top, the director general or the owner, top guy that I became friends with. So I'm definitely going to go to those people who I think could not only want to do it, but also could afford to do it, and see what they think about it. Certainly. 1 second, David. Got 2 people ahead of you. Randall, go ahead.
Howard, could you just explain what you meant about the 5-year or the 6 years period?
Well, the board of trustees in Evanston, Illinois, put Russia under a little bit of a stress test when the reports came back from Alexei Kutsunov's tour when he was district governor throughout Russia, about the actual numbers of clubs and members that were present in the Rotary movement about a year or 2 ago. And so a year ago, they decided to put Russia under a watch to make sure that if there weren't a growth in membership and so on, perhaps Rotary would think again, maybe if what they would have to do, how they would react to that. And so I just don't want to see, and I'm sure everybody in this Zoom conference would not want to see the Rotary in Russia movement fail after about 30 years of trying to develop it very conscientiously. And so it's important when we succeed in doing things like this that we let people know about it. And that's all Michael was saying. And I think, you know, your treasurer and other people, their hearts are really in this. And I just think it's so important that other Russians know about it and that we build up those numbers. And I'm not just for the sake of getting dues money. That's not what we're doing.
Right.
We're talking about existence here.
Right.
And next year we'll only have 4 years left. That's all.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of Rotarians around here did not know about that rule. I had heard about it, but I didn't pay much attention to it. But you're right, it does exist. They are. I heard about it a year ago. So we'll see where it goes. Gabriella, you had a comment? Second, David,
Yes.
you're Gabriella.
At first, I want to say that it's very sad to hear what you told us, Howard. Rotary is not a political organization, so it must not play any role. So I think we must be more seen, of course. You must take Rotary out of anonymity. So we made this benches project, and this was very good, not only because of the benches, this was great and we are visible, but we did it together with the administration. We went to the administration. So I was lucky to work on an economic level, and I had frequent meetings with Smolny, with the administration, with politicians. And so this was something we could show, that Rotary does something for the people in Petersburg, for the tourists coming, for the citizens, and they are really happy. And they gave us new lists, and they said, well, you can do it there, and we are happy, and thank you so much. And we got also a diplomat, a letter of gratitude. So try to get into contact with administration, with politics. Try to find out what is needed in your city. What can you do for the city, and make it together with the administration. When they get to know you, and this is Rotary, this is what you are doing, we didn't know about it. So I think these contexts are very, very helpful.
Right. I agree that the support of the local community, not only the people, but the government of this local community, is very important and very helpful. You get many things done quicker when you have the government involvement than you can with just the average person involvement. So certainly we will look into that. David, you're unmute, Dave. Unmute, Dave.
Yep. I was delighted to hear your comments about corporate outreach. That's part of the ICC expansion strategy that I'd like to talk to you and Randall about, and I'm glad you're on that route to begin with. And Howard, great to see you. Long conversation with Carmen Cuneo yesterday. I'll be sending you some materials later today. The situation is improving a little bit, but we have more work to do.
Very good. Thank you. And the
I gotta go to DC now. So see you next week.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Yes, Randall. Excuse me, Walter.
Yeah, there was one question from Naveen in the chat. When is the limit end? You said 5-year ending when? That was to Howard. Can you unmute and elaborate?
I thought it was 2025. I thought it was 2025, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know, Michael, if I can give an exact answer to that, Walter.
Okay.
It was to my mind, it was 6 years probation, but it was a year ago when they kind of announced it quietly. I don't think this is something we want to publicize, that we're walking the plank here in Russia,
right.
But it is something to be concerned about. And so some of the people in Evanston are looking, at, and perhaps unfairly, at the size of the population of Russia and how many members and how many clubs we have relative to other countries that have started Rotary movements in those countries. And they have a lot of history to work on.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's maybe a reason that it's slow to get going in Russia, because it's against the historical background where the government more or less took care of these humanitarian movements. But we're there now. We've been there 30 years. And so I just would not be comfortable if we didn't survive this probationary period, and so that's it's not my number one worry, but it's my number two worry.
Okay, yeah, I think that we're all going to do the best we can to keep it going and to show that we're trying to help the local community. And again, it does take a big part, the people, the governments, and finding those opportunities where we can help it, where we do think we can do something. The benches was a big win-win for everybody, the publicity we got out of it, but now we need to carry that forward and make that grow more. So we will work on that. But we got enough time for maybe one more question, and then I need to wrap up the meeting with some closing comments and let you know what our schedule is. Any other questions? Don't see any hands? No hands. All right. So let's go. Yeah, let's go to the next piece. Where am I at here? All right. Let me get out of the way. My own mess here. All right. We have coming up for you People are always asking who our next speakers are going to be. Randall already told you about Michelle Birdie from the Moscow Times, the author and arts editor from Moscow. The week after that, we're going to have Dr. Robert Scott. He's going to talk to us about Polio Plus. It's always been about the children. He has been involved in this program for many, many, many years, and we're really looking forward to hearing what has been accomplished and what his expectations are for the future. On 31 March, Antonina, who's on our screen this evening, herself and a friend, Renea, are going to talk to us about Pushkin in Quint. I guess that's pronounced, I'm not quite sure, but this is the place in Canada, and they're going to tell us about it. The month of April, 7 April, Stanley Miner and David Fishman are going to be talking to us about the Russian USA ICC. 14 April, Judy Bryan is going to talk to us about the Canadian Russian ICC. And on the 21st of April, George Dentinel is going to talk to us about the German Russian ICC. So in April, it is going to be ICC month, and we're going to be talking about what can be done, what is being done, and how that can be grown, what we can do more, how we can move forward and help all these projects to grow. This is the objective, that we want to get there. We want to have our club, which is very small, but to have an impact on people around the world. And the way we can do it is by providing you with the speakers who have the knowledge to share that knowledge. And if you know anyone else in Rotary or even outside of Rotary who is interested in finding out more information about Canadian Russian, US Russian, German Russian relations and cooperation, April is going to be the month to be there. And if you know folks who are interested in finding out about our polio program, especially somebody might be new to Rotary and doesn't know so much about the polio program, it's going to be great to come in and hear what the program about Polio Plus. I think that you're going to be pleased by what you see, because our speakers are going to be good, just like tonight. Robert Morrow was very, very knowledgeable on what he was doing, and he explained many, many things in detail, and we got some good questions out of it. So I think we're going in the right direction. I don't think that I want to belabor the subject anymore, but we're going to be working on our project. And now that I got a video, I'm going to be working twice as hard with it. So I'll get with Rami and we'll figure out what we're going to do with this thing and how we can run with it. But if you or anyone else knows of someone, person, organization, company that would like to contribute to helping these children walk again, please contact myself or Randall. We will get you a copy of the video. We will make sure that there's words and stuff to go along with it, and we will make that happen. It's not impossible to do big things. I'm going to leave you with a quote, and I may have used this quote before I close the meeting. Sometimes people think that we are too small, that we're too insignificant, that we cannot make an impact one person at a time. And the quote I'd like to give you is from the 14th Dalai Lama. He said, if you think that one person cannot be significant, try sleeping with one mosquito. There is an impact that can be done. We'll do it singularly, we'll do it jointly, we'll do it as an organization. We will make a difference. We will get things done. All of you, individually and as a group, can make a difference. You just need to get out there and try. And I'm sure everybody on the screen here that I know is already doing it. So that's wonderful. Rotarian, not a Rotarian, friends of Rotarians, going to be a Rotarian, going to retire as a Rotarian, doesn't matter. You're still part of the family, and we still appreciate you coming on board with us. What keeps Randall going, getting new speakers all the time, is that you people appreciate and like the speakers we have. And because of that, he keeps finding new ones and working with you to find even more. Keep that coming. I'm going to close the meeting here in just a moment, and then we're going to open it up for just chit chat for 5 minutes.